Hello, dear friends. We present to your attention our new hike through the mountains of British Columbia. With you again, Alexander and another Alexander. This time we are waiting for 33 kilometers, 4 main peaks, and according to my calculations, 12 hills between them. Has anyone already guessed? And from the name, it was easy to understand that this is Howe Sound Crest Trail. We orientate ourselves on the terrain and check the pointers and GPS data again. From the signpost, the main trail goes straight ahead. Our today's path turns right onto the Baden-Powell Trail, which should take us to our first peak, Mount Strachan North Peak, at 1,459 meters. But we don't follow a clear route. We go straight down the ski slope called Collins. This descent makes a small detour and a little higher should connect with the path that leads to the memorial. There is a steep climb from the parking lot, and almost immediately, our breath goes astray since we are not yet completely warmed up and our body begins to ache. The backpack crushes, the legs hurt, and thoughts appear in the head. What a damn 33 kilometers of mountain peaks where I climb, and why do I need all this? Familiar thoughts? I think they all periodically slip through, especially at the beginning of the journey, but gradually you get involved. The backpack becomes a part of you, and it doesn't seem so hard anymore. After walking a little more, we get to the crash site of the plane. Here is the main part, but fragments of the fuselage are scattered all over the top.
Уже, конечно, вообще непонятно, где еще какая деталь была.
Да, тут только вон куски фюзеляжа.
Через год, в ноябре, будет как 60 лет, он как тут грохнулся, 63-й год, да? Ну да.
Два пилота погибло.
А, да?
Да. Учебный был полет, и 2 военных летчика погибло.
Ну вот, да, табличка. Что в ноябре 25-го 63-го года на Т-33 тренировочном разбились 2 летчика.
Дальше.
Ну что, куда нам дальше?
Вон по тропе, тропа направо было написано.
А, ну да, вот она уходит. Наш путь дальше туда.
Ведут туда.
Paying tribute to 2 Royal Canadian Navy pilots who lost their lives at this site due to bad weather, which led to a collision with trees. We move on. We plan to cover our entire route with 2 overnight stays. Some overcome it in 1 night, but we are in no hurry, and we want to slowly descend on the 3rd day to Porteau Cove Road Lookout. This is the name of a small parking lot on Highway 99, which goes towards the city of Squamish from Vancouver. It was in this parking lot that we left my car a little earlier today and returned to the beginning of our route, which starts from the Cypress ski resort and is also a British Columbia provincial park. It is not located low, at an altitude of 926 meters from this height at 8 in the morning. We started our journey respectively, and to the first peak, we just have to go up a little more than 500 meters. But as it turned out later, everything went wrong for us. We got lost once, lost our way several times, lost precious time. And in one case, they even hung on a sheer cliff, got into heavy rain with wind and fog. 3 times they changed their plans and the further path, foreseeing how and where it would be better to go. We are getting closer to the first peak, but in order to reach it, we first find ourselves near the ski lift of the ski resort, which is located at an altitude of 1,440 meters, from where the first view of the bay and nearby islands opens. From here we observe the inversion. When the clouds float below us, this is something incredible and bewitching. As they say, you stick to this spectacle when they slowly swim through the forest and lowlands.
И сейчас нам нужно спуститься вон к этим горам. И наш маршрут будет идти ровненько по хребту до этих двух пиков. Там, честно говоря, дальше я так на память уже не помню, куда дальше тропа пойдет, но до пиков идем, до двух тех пиков идем по хребту, по самой макушке.
We make a small descent down the slope to the lawn between the two upper points. According to the GPS, in height between them, they differ by only 15 meters. We descend from a height of 1,440 meters, and in a few minutes, we will rise to a height of 1,459 meters. The sun is hot here. The back and places where the harnesses of the backpack are adjacent to the body are already completely wet. We stop on the rocks so that I can change my shoes. It is very comfortable for me to go up in sandals on barefoot, but when the descents begin, they do not fit at all, and I have to change into boots. Alexander does not bother at all and walks all the way in hiking boots, while I try to wear light shoes whenever possible. While I'm changing my shoes, the first friend visits us apparently. She flew a little higher when we started descending here. The bird, although wild, but very close, literally in a dance, lets it close to itself. We leave our backpacks at the bottom, and we go light with a camera and a phone, because after we go to the top, we will have to go down to the clearing again and go aside along the path that leads to the main route. To visit the memorial and climb this mountain, we walked an additional 2.5 kilometers. But it was worth it. Only at that time, there were thick clouds in the form of a continuous carpet below us. Further, while we descended, and then climbed again to the next observation deck, the clouds are almost gone. Looking around, we can easily recognize the top of Golden Ears Mountain, where we were a month ago. The weather is great. Everything is visible to the horizon, and we share emotions and impressions with each other. After being here for about 20 minutes, we go down the seasonal stream, which at certain times of the year, it seems to me, turns into a seething stream of water rushing down. We calmly descend, periodically meeting people who, on the contrary, come toward us. We deliberately chose the path through the ski slope, although it climbed steeply and made a detour. But it was not so sharp if you go uphill here. It's already early September, and the area hasn't rained in almost 2 months, so the fire danger level is red everywhere. And it is strictly forbidden to make fires. You can only use gas camping cylinders for cooking. But such heat is almost no obstacle for mountain fauna. All grass and plants, especially in the shady part of the slopes and in the lowlands, are green and juicy. Of course, autumn is already taking its toll, and something is turning yellow, but most of it still remains green. The path takes us to a low forest on a slope, and along the stones mixed with roots, you go down almost like steps, periodically holding hands on tree trunks as a railing for better balance. While you are going down, and there is no way to look around because of the dense vegetation, you have no idea how low you have already gone down. But as soon as you go out into the open and have the opportunity to assess the environment, every time you utter the words of an exclamation, how high you were a few tens of minutes ago, this is something incredible.
Вышли на основную тропу. Мы с Аней смеемся. Здесь людей как в метро.
Да, круто. Рюкзак перекинуть, чтобы донесли до первого
Да. Все налегке бегают. А мы небольшой крюк сделали. На гору заходили.
We reached the main trail, which is the part that goes from the ski resort and the signpost, where we were oriented at the beginning. It leads to the top called St. Mark's Summit, with a height of only 1,371 meters. The path is really wide and dusty. There are a lot of people walking here, and basically, everyone climbs for several hours to admire the bay and islands from the top and back. When you meet those who go with backpacks, you immediately understand that they, like us, go much further along the trail and the nearest peak. As one of the points to have a little rest, but it will not be easy to do on the observation deck. Noisy and crowded. Here we are at the second peak of St. Mark's Summit. It is closer to the bay than the first peak where we observed the inversion, and opens its unique beauty and reviews on the 99th Highway. Running below in smooth turns, sailing ferries, boats and boats along the bay from port to port, from island to island. We watch the swirling clouds, growing like snowdrifts right under your feet from the steep and steep slopes of the mountains, where we take a breath and rest. After a little refreshment, we continue the route to the next peaks in the next section. We will descend from a point of 1,371 meters to the level of 1,200, and then a new ascent to the next hill at 1,450 meters. Farther away from people, the trail becomes less pronounced, but with even steeper ascents and descents. Here you will meet fewer and fewer of those who plan the itinerary for the day there and back. You have to make frequent stops to catch your breath and drink water. By the way, about water, if you do not want to play survival or get it in an unnatural way, take it with a good supply. Especially in hot weather, there are almost no sources along the Howe Sound Crest Trail, except for a few lakes that will be a little further. And this is almost more than 10 kilometers from the Cypress ski resort. We have almost 6.5 liters with us, and by the next morning we used it all. So a little later, in the late afternoon, we had a goal to look for a place for a tent as close as possible to the water source. Today I have something completely wrong with the hardness in my legs. As I gathered my legs and arms to my body and set up the camera, Alexander rushed forward. There remains a small beat before him, and there will be another hill of 1,450 meters. And then our path will already go along a mountain range with fluctuations in height from 1,400 to 1,550 meters, up to two peaks called Lions, to which I pointed a little earlier with my finger. Over the next hour, the weather will begin to worsen. Clouds will come in again, which will gradually cover the entire sky. The sun will peep out less and less and give their warmth, and the time has long passed for dinner, and the evening inexorably begins to make itself felt, and we still have to go and go. Now we have walked about 8 kilometers from the parking lot, and we have planned 10 to 12 kilometers for the first day. But from the next hill, more and more open, unprecedented beauties, from which it is impossible to look away, and so constantly. You understand that it is time to accelerate, but you are unable to tear yourself away from the next panorama.
Что у нас тут?
Еще одна переплавница. Пытаюсь понять, где, про какие озера он говорил. Мне кажется,
Thinking of camping here, there are even several small lakes with crystal water in the lowland, but rain is predicted for tomorrow, and we are a little afraid that we did not pass the sheer balcony near Lions, and we cannot imagine how we will go along it if it rains. So we make a halt and we weigh the pros and cons. You don't even think about fatigue in the body, the heaviness of the backpack, and pain in the muscles. There is no time because you are in complete peace with nature and yourself. Everything fades into the background. The landscape changes literally every few meters, and you just want to throw off your backpack, sit down, and enjoy every meter of the landscape that opens before you, where only you, the wind, the sun, and almost perfect silence among the mountains. But no matter how much we want to stop, we need to continue to move forward, or rather, now a little down. So we move along the ridge between the hills, huge stones and boulders.
Плечи широкие, что я могу поделать?
We got to the gorge between two ridges. The wind blows strongly, and the sun does not warm at all, so we don't linger here and started a new climb. How great it is to turn around and look where you were 20 to 25 minutes ago, and the whole scale, volume, and power immediately begin to take shape in your head. Because until you go ahead, you have no idea how far and wide everything is. We rise to a hill near the Lions Mountains themselves. The trail continues to wind along the left, then along the right edge of the ridge, becoming narrower and steeper, which does not allow you to relax, and keeps each step in full concentration, revealing all the beauty around you. You press closer to the stones, holding on to the ledges and roots. At the same time, you control the markers so that you do not have to return, being at a dead end where there is a steep cliff. The day leads us faster and faster to the completion of our first leg of the route. It already seems that you can reach 2 spires with your hand, but this is all an optical illusion and a game of scale.
Время у нас уже 7 час вечера.
In the meantime, the first tents began to appear. These are mainly those who will go straight downhill from here tomorrow. There is a direct trail to the highway, or go back along the route. The guys who plan to go the whole route, like us, set up camp behind these 2 peaks. In fact, where we ourselves are striving today. But before that, another extreme section was waiting for us, on which we lost a lot of time, nerves, and the last strength. There is nothing to do. We decide to go further than go back, where we saw 2 small lakes a little earlier. But if we return, it's not a fact that we will find a place where we can put up a tent. Places are taken up quickly, and at dusk, there is no desire to wander along the slope. So we move down, in the hope that fewer people manage to reach further, and there we will definitely find where to stay for the night. Up to this point, you walk along the trail relatively safely. If you fall, then under you, there are always several meters of a gentle slope in reserve until the cliff, or dense vegetation with stones. But here, there is nothing. Only bare stones, on which, in addition, fine sand, on which even in boots, with a protector, the foot slips a lot.
Показать вам обрывчик.
The rope looks strong and is reassured by the fact that every day people come down and up here. Alexander starts first. I follow right behind him. It is necessary to go down 15 meters with the rope was thrown over hanging stones to the ledge, which is then forward to the isthmus. But with the load on the back, the whole movement is much more constrained and clumsy. The route leads down a steep wall, and then along the very edge around the entire peak. We didn't count on this at all, and didn't see any information anywhere that we had to go along such a section. Yes, we had to go along the balcony, but on review videos, it seemed absolutely safe without such sheer walls. According to my assumption, we are now somewhere around 200 to 300 meters below us. I will tell you this is deadly dangerous, And unfortunately, as we later found out, there was more than one accident in this area with adventurers who fell into the abyss. This is very sad and scary.
Может, он не выше идут маркеры? Не знаю.
Стрелка была направо, да?
Ну вот стрелка между меня. Вот, то что. А? Ну не, ну вот одна и вот вторая точка.
We are very surprised. For some reason, there are almost no route markers. Noticed a few brackets, in fact. They once pulled a safety rope, but now it is gone. You check each step several times so that your foot does not slip. In addition, with both hands, you look for at least some kind of ledge on the boulders, which you can hold on to if you slip.
С рюкзаками. Конечно, немножко жим-жим. В общем, уже темнеется. Да, мы сбились с маршрута и лазили потому по этой горке. Думали, что трейл идет к той вершине туда. Но потом вовремя на середине сообразили.
And this is the balcony that we knew about. Compared to what we had to endure half an hour ago, this place is just a walking path. After all, we lost our way, saw a rope, did not check the markers, and started to go down it, and then go through it all again. Return to the rope and climb it to the main marker, which indicated the path going to the right.
8 вечера. Почти дошли до палаток. Видим внизу. А львы остались у нас сзади. Уже думали, что перед ними будем становиться, но нет. Обогнули уже их.